current speaking questions for the IELTS speaking test Part 1 in 2020. Hi, I'm IELTS Mike, IELTS examiner and author of the book IELTS Speaking Success. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the new questions for 2020 for Part 1 of the speaking test. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips about how to prepare for your test and what to do when you're actually having your test. We're going to be looking at current questions, and I'm going to not only show you what the questions are. I've got somebody who's prepared model answers to these questions, so I'm going to be giving you the questions as well as the model answers. I'm also going to give you a few tips along the way about how you can prepare and what you can do in your test. Essentially, there are three main things that we're covering in detail in this video. I'm going to be highlighting some vocabulary for you to use to answer some of these new topics. I'm going to be showing you what the questions are so that you can prepare for these questions before you take your test. And I'm also giving you model answers that can give you some ideas about what you can do to answer these new questions when you take your test. I highly recommend that you get familiar with these new topics so that you're able to answer them effectively in your test. I think you'll agree that if you know the questions and you've practiced them before your test, you're going to do much better than if you just walk into the test room and get kind of surprised by these topics, by these questions. Alright, so on to today's video. There's three things that I'm doing. I'm giving you vocabulary, I'm showing you questions, I'm giving you model answers. Let's have a look at the first new topic for 2020. Alright, so our first new topic in 2020 is about parks. And what happens in the test is the examiner will introduce the topic. They'll say something like, let's talk about parks. And what I want you to do when you're practicing or when you're taking your test is get used to hearing the key word in the question and switching on your brain. There's something called awaken the schemata. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is you hear the topic of parks and you try and open up the area in your brain about parks and vocabulary to do with parks in English. So, for instance, when I hear the word parks, I think about FLORA. FLORA is all the kind of plants and flowers that we might see in a park. I think about the FAUNA, animals that we might see in a park, such as squirrels, perhaps birds. I think about public amenities, such as toilets and water fountains. The other thing that's great is if you can think of idiomatic expressions. So when we're talking about parks, we're talking about green spaces. Okay, green spaces are any kind of green areas, any area of greenery. It could be a forest, it could be a park, it could be just a little area alongside the road. Those are called green spaces. So if you can open up the schemata, the vocabulary in your brain, when you hear the topic introduced, it's going to allow you to respond with high level vocabulary and just also to have ideas about this topic. So let's see some of the model answers from my colleague Doug. Let's talk about parks. How often do you go to a park?
I try to visit my local park frequently on my way home from work, weather permitting. Fortunately, my local and favorite park is close to home. It is usually quiet and peaceful.
What activities do you do in a park?
After a long day at work, I usually enjoy a quiet spot on many of the benches beside the pathways. It's a good place to watch people and observe the activities. I'll also enjoy a snack and a beverage.
Do you prefer small parks or big parks?
My daily park visits are at a small park near home. On the weekends, however, I like to go to a large park as there are lots of activities and things to do and see.
Do people in your country like going to parks?
In the village where I come from, there are few parks nearby, but lots of green spaces for people to enjoy. People in the cities love to get out of the home and frequent parks. I often see small groups enjoying a picnic, chilling out and relaxing.
Okay, breaks, when you get to have a rest. Open up the schemata. What sort of vocabulary do we have to do with breaks? I often need a break when I feel drowsy. Drowsy means kind of sleepy. And then I need to recuperate. Recuperate is to recover. To get back my vigor, my energy. A good idiomatic expression, chill out. I need a break so that I can chill out. Now, let's discuss breaks from work or study. What do you usually do during a break?
I get 2 coffee breaks and a mid-shift break. The coffee breaks are short, and I like to stretch my tight muscles before grabbing a cup of tea and resuming work. Mid-shift breaks allows me to have a time for a bite to eat and relax for a while.
Do you prefer a long break or several short breaks?
I work at my desk and stare at my computer monitor for long periods of time. I therefore prefer a number of short breaks. I like to get up, stretch, and move around to get the blood flowing and freshen my coffee before returning to my cubicle.
How often do you take a break?
Work my employer allows breaks which are scheduled every 2 hours with morning and afternoon breaks and a longer break mid-shift to allow for a rejuvenating meal and a little bit of exercise. Although breaks are designed to allow employees to get away from their desks, many of my colleagues prefer to continue working to meet their deadlines.
Why do you need to take a break?
Breaks are necessary for me to get away from my desk because it gives me an opportunity to relax my muscles and sometimes massage my shoulders and neck. Also, they give my eyes a chance to rest from staring at my computer monitor.
Numbers and maths. You can talk about some of the different types of maths. We've got things like algebra, calculus, that's where you have the x equals y squared and all that kind of nonsense. We've got geometry, that deals with shapes and how to calculate areas. Idiomatic expression, I don't have a head for maths. I don't have a head for maths, that means I'm not very good at maths. Or I don't have ability or talent, I'm not a great one when it comes to trying to do maths. Let's now discuss numbers and maths. Are you good at maths?
In secondary school, I did well in math, especially in algebra and trigonometry. However, when I went to university, I found the curriculum more difficult. I had to study intensively as math was more complex. I especially had difficulty with calculus.
How often do you need to use maths?
Math and arithmetic every day, especially to calculate my daily spending. I rarely use a calculator for simple addition and multiplication, at and away from the office. For difficult calculations, I will use a computer or my phone.
What is your favorite number?
7 is my favorite number, as it has been a recurring number in my life. I hit a 777 on a slot machine once, which paid a sizable jackpot. I always buy a lottery ticket with 1 or more 7s.
Are you good at remembering phone numbers?
In the past, before cell phones, telephone numbers were only 7 or 8 digits and easy to remember. Today, with most people using mobile phones, remembering numbers are not necessary. I also rely on my cell and don't remember numbers.
Science classes, we can talk about the curriculum, which is everything that you study inside and outside the classroom when you're studying a course. We can talk about the different types of sciences. We've got physics, we've got biology, the study of life, we've got chemistry. So when you hear this topic, science, wake up your brain about science. And then idiomatic expression. I'm a bit of a science buff. Buff is like I suppose, a fan, an expert at something, then you're a buff. I'm a science buff. Let's talk about science classes. Do you like learning about science?
When I was in elementary school, I was fascinated with dinosaurs and had many dinosaur figurines. My fascination with science continued as I watched many space and nature shows on TV. As an adult, I still love science and watch documentaries and other science shows.
Did you study science at school?
In secondary school, I did not do well in the arts such as language, nor did I do well in math. The sciences were where my interests lied. I enjoyed studying and science projects in the classrooms.
What kind of science classes did you take at school?
In high school, I preferred chemistry and physics, as there were a lot of hands-on experiments in the classroom. I had teachers that were very good at demonstrating and explaining how the science worked. My least favorite class was biology, which was interesting, but I didn't enjoy dissecting animals.
Do you think science is important?
I believe science is very important as we understand our Earth's history, weather, and climate. Science, of course, has led to a development of technology which we enjoy today, such as transportation and communication. Sciences has also enabled us to explore our solar system and the universe beyond.
History, we can talk about colonial times, the good old times of the British rule when the British had lots of colonies in India and the West Indies and New Zealand, where I'm from. The good old days for the British. If we're talking about things that are old, these are called antiques. So we can use the word antiques, an antique watch, a really old watch. You could talk about this. We can mention people who study history. They're called historians. Idiomatic expression. I'm not really interested in the days gone by. That just means past times. I'm not interested in the days gone by. Now, let's discuss history. Do you like learning about history?
I find our history fascinating, and I very much enjoy our evolution from prehistoric animals to our modern civilization. Unfortunately, history has been riddled with war and violence. Hopefully, however, we are learning from our errors and will become more peaceful. I watch historic documentaries as often as they are available.
When was the last time you read about history?
Since I am planning to travel to Europe next year, I thought it would be a good idea to research European history during the 20th century. I recently finished reading about the events leading up to, during, and after the Second World War. It was interesting, and I think it will be beneficial for me when I visit historical sites in Europe.
Did you like history when you were young?
When I was still attending school, I was not interested in history. I was too busy hanging out with my friends and discovering my surroundings. Now I have respect for history, as it is fascinating and educational. I also enjoy watching historical dramas and documentaries.
Have you ever been to any history museums?
When I was in elementary school, my parents took me to an historic museum. It was an inexpensive and fascinating trip, and I especially enjoyed the old tools and equipment. Nowadays, I regularly go to museums and historic sites to relax and be entertained.
Let's talk about scenery. Is there good scenery in the area you live in?
I live and commute in the city, and the scenery is minimal at best. Therefore, on my days off, I like to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city and visit the countryside. There I can enjoy the fresh air, quiet places, and take in the scenery.
Do you like to take photos of scenery?
When I escape the pollution and congestion of the city, I have my smartphone to snap pictures of my surroundings. For example, last month I went to the beach and watched the sunset. I got some amazing pictures of the ocean and the setting sun.
What scenic places are there in your country?
There are many places to adventure and enjoy the scenery. Many people in my country travel to the beach, mountains, and historical sites. Just last summer, my friends and I climbed up a mountain. The scenery along the way and the view was spectacular.
When you travel, do you like to stay in hotels with scenic views?
Hotels with views are nice, but not necessary for me, as I spend very little time there. I mainly sleep and freshen up in the morning to go to the places and activities that I have planned. At home, I live in a high-rise apartment building and do enjoy the scenery and city view from my balcony.
Cakes and desserts. You can talk about cuisine, French cuisine. There's many delicious desserts in French cuisine. You could talk about the different sort of taste sensations, sweet, sour, bitter. You can talk about pastry, which is what pies are made of, that sort of yummy bottom part to pies, that's pastry. And in a restaurant that makes those is called a patisserie. And we've got pastry chefs, people who specialise in pies and pastry. A really good idiomatic expression here, I have a sweet tooth. A sweet tooth means that I like desserts, I like things that are sweet. So if you like things that are sweet, if you like desserts and cakes, then you've got a sweet tooth. Now let's discuss cakes and desserts. Do you like to eat dessert?
For me, when I was growing up, Mom would try to make healthy desserts. Sliced fruit with milk or ice cream was a common dessert which I enjoyed. My mom would also make sweetbreads containing dried fruit, which were a favorite of mine.
Have you ever made any cakes?
When I was young, I would help my mother in the kitchen preparing meals. She believed it was important to teach me to cook so I could look after myself when I left home. I helped her make cakes for special occasions, but I have never made one myself.
Do you like eating cake?
Myself, I am not a big dessert fan. I try to eat healthy, and cakes and desserts are too sweet for my taste and are full of sugar and calories. I will indulge in cakes at birthday parties and wedding celebrations, however.
What desserts do people in your country like?
Where I live, dessert is not a regular part of a meal offering. People will at times have desserts like cakes and pies when they are out at a restaurant. Other sweets that people like are ice cream, chocolates, and candies, which are very popular.
When it comes to art, you could talk about a piece of art being vivid. Vivid is sort of bright and clear and standing out, so maybe it's a vivid piece of art. Or sometimes we talk about a vivid imagination, which means like a really sort of clear, bright imagination. It's a positive word. If someone produces a fantastic piece of art, we call it a masterpiece. You can go to museums such as the Louvre and see these masterpieces. You could talk about the different periods of art. For instance, the Renaissance. The Renaissance is the period just after the Dark Ages, where there was a sudden period of enlightenment, and this shone through in art, and so they called this period the Renaissance, sort of like the rebirth. And then idiomatic expression. We can talk about art for art's sake. So art for art's sake means something like producing a piece of art just for the sake of art. It's something that only has artistic purpose and doesn't have any other sort of functional purpose. Let's talk about art. Do you like art?
I am not an artist myself, but as a kid I painted and drew as part of art classes in elementary school. I do appreciate and admire the creation of artists. When I get more leisure time, I may take up painting.
Have you ever visited an art gallery?
There are many museums and art galleries that tourists and Chinese people like to visit. For example, the China Art Museum in Shanghai, where historical and contemporary art is on display. I was fortunate to have some time off, and me and my friends visited the China Art Museum last summer.
Is there any artwork on the wall in your home?
I don't have any original artwork in my apartment. I do, however, have some photographs that I had enlarged and framed that are hanging in my living room. They were taken during my trip last year to the beach and during the previous year climbing a mountain.
Have you ever had any art classes?
A few years ago, my girlfriend convinced me that we should do more activities together. Perhaps inspired by the movie Ghost, she convinced me that pottery classes were the best choice. I still have some vases and bowls from those classes.
Pens and pencils. As soon as I hear this, I think of the word stationery, which means it's sort of like anything related to pens, pencils, erasers, pencil sharpeners, rulers, all of that stuff is called stationery. So that word springs to my mind as soon as I hear pens and pencils. You could talk about calligraphy. That's where people have special pens and write in all these amazing fonts. If you've ever received like a birthday card or some sort of maybe a wedding, sometimes they involve calligraphy. Beautiful handwritten fonts, as I said, the fonts are the shapes of the letters. It's very popular in Chinese culture. They have calligraphy there. It's still a feature of the culture today. You can talk about different types of pens and pencils. If you've got one of those pencils that you have to keep kind of clicking to get the lead out, that's called a clutch pencil. So you could, if you may not know these words already. I'm not suggesting you need to know the word clutch pencil, but just like I've said, awaken your schemata. Try and think of words that you already know. As soon as you hear, now let's talk about pens and pencils, bing, hopefully you wake up your brain and you think of some higher level words. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen with every single topic, but you get 3 topics in part 1. Hopefully it comes out in one of the 3 topics. That would be great. That would be fantastic. And then idiomatic expression for pens and pencils. Jot down. To jot something down, like you're taking notes in a lecture, or maybe while watching this video, you jot something down. You write something down. Now, let's discuss pens and pencils. Do you usually use a pen or a pencil?
Today's pencils are not commonly available in general stores. If you want one, you need to shop at a stationery store. My writing tool of choice is my computer, but for quick notes, I have a pen handy. I prefer a quality ballpoint pen rather than a disposable pens that are available.
When was the last time you bought a pen or pencil?
I recently went to an art store in my neighborhood to purchase some pens. My much younger cousin enjoys coloring pictures, so I thought colored pencils would be an excellent gift for her. I have them gift wrapped and will give them to her as a birthday present.
Have you ever received a pen or pencil as a gift?
When I graduated from university, one of the special gifts I received was a ballpoint pen with the school colors and engraved with the year of my graduation. I was excited and appreciated the thoughtfulness of the gift. It is a special souvenir that I will cherish and keep safe.
Do people in your country prefer to use pens or pencils?
Where I live, pencils are rarely available. You usually need to go to a specialty store to purchase one. Ink is more durable than lead pencils, so pens would be the choice for the vast majority of people.
Now let's discuss spending time by yourself. Spending time on your own. You're in solitude, you're on your own. That's basically solitude is being alone, or solo, alone. When you are in solitude, this gives you a time for reflection, to reflect on what's happening in your life. When you're on your own, you can meditate, you can go into a state of meditation. I suppose you don't have to be alone, but it's a lot easier to do it when you're alone. Idiomatic expression, to go it alone. This means to do something by yourself. If you travel alone without others, without being in a tour group, then you are going it alone. This can be an excellent way to travel. How often do you spend time by yourself?
I am single and don't have a special person in my life. Therefore, I spend a lot of time by myself. When commuting back and forth to work, I take public transit, so I share the bus with many people, and at that time I am not by myself. Most of the time alone is during the evenings.
What did you do last time you were by yourself?
I live a routine and scheduled life when I am not at work. Last night, after a couple of hours of studying, I watched some television. Last night's show I watched was a documentary on space and our solar system.
Do you like spending a lot of time by yourself?
I actually enjoy being single, as I can schedule my activities when I want. I like being alone during my studies and have the flexibility with time. I enjoy being able to relax, read a book, or watch television.
When do you usually spend time by yourself?
My time is pretty well scheduled between my commute to and from work and my long working hours. On the way home, I usually go shopping and may go to a restaurant for a casual meal alone. Most of my time being by myself would be in the evening, studying, reading, or watching a movie.
Laughing. No funny matter. If something's funny, if you find something funny, then it's humorous. Humorous means funny. It's got humor in it. I mean, literally, the word humorous does have humor in it. If something's really funny, then it's hilarious. Wow, my neighbour told a joke and it was absolutely hilarious. Great word to use in your test. Or maybe it was something witty. Something witty means it's a kind of intelligent kind of humour. The British are very good at it. A witty joke. A joke that needs a little bit of thinking about it. It's not so obvious. A good idiomatic expression, to be in stitches. To be in stitches means something's really funny. It's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit different than the medical word stitches. So if you get a cut from an accident, then they might have to sew you up. That's stitches. Well, this is a joke that's so funny it sort of gives you that feeling of pain. You're in stitches, especially you get a feeling in your side that it just feels like it's going to split because you're laughing so hard. The joke is so funny. Let's talk about laughing. How often do you laugh?
I have a laugh or chuckle every day. It might be a funny post on social media or a cartoon in the paper that I find humorous. On the weekends, I will get together with my friends to relax, chill out, and exchange some jokes.
Do you like to watch funny movies or TV shows?
My preferred television and movie shows are drama and documentaries. To relax, however, I do enjoy watching comedy on television, but I rarely go to a theater. I enjoy comedy centered on families and friends rather than slapstick humor.
Are you the kind of person who makes other people laugh?
I am certainly not a stand-up comedian. I do, however, enjoy meeting up with my friends at a restaurant or bar and exchanging stories and jokes. I am not a person that likes to be the center of attention, but I can tell a pretty good joke and make people laugh.
Do you think it is important to laugh with friends?
I believe that having a good sense of humor and enjoying laughter is good for your health. I love to meet up with my friends and enjoy their company as we always have a few laughs over a meal and drinks. I believe having a good sense of humor that you can share builds friendship and comradeship.
Moving on to water sports, I'm really into snorkeling. I thought I'd introduce to you what I use to go snorkeling. And so if I were in the test, that's what I'd be thinking about. I'd be thinking about my flippers. They make me go faster. And I would be thinking about my, see if I can get out of here. I'd be thinking about my snorkel. Can't go snorkeling without a snorkel. It makes a cool noise too, so you can use it to scare animals or children when you're not in the water. And well, I don't have. I do have a goggles, but well, I got some mini ones. I got my small goggles here. My bigger ones are somewhere else. I just got a new set of big ones, and I can mount a GoPro on it. So I'm looking forward to getting in the water and trying that out. Maybe I can go find it. Hold on a minute. Oh, actually it was here all the time. I just didn't see it. Yeah, this is it here, and I can mount my GoPro on there. So pretty excited to get into the water and try that out. I haven't done it yet. And then if you really like something, you can use the idiomatic expression keen on. So I'm really keen on snorkeling. I just love seeing all the different fish. I feel like it's a different world down there. Running. Let's now discuss water sports. What water sports do you like doing?
When I was a child, I played with my friends at the local lake, swimming, fishing, and splashing each other, which was a lot of fun. In university, I competed on the swim team. We won a few tournaments, and I enjoyed the comradeship and celebrations. I also enjoyed the competitiveness and challenges of swimming when I was a student.
What kind of water sports do you want to try?
While watching the Summer Olympics hosted in Beijing, I was amazed by the talent and the competitiveness of diving. I've always lived near the water and have participated in many water sports with the exception of diving. I would like to participate in this sport in the future.
Have you ever done any dangerous water sports?
I have a great concern for my safety, and with the power of the ocean and rivers, I always ensure safety gear is handy should an emergency arise. When on small boats, I always wear a life preserver, as I never know if there might be an accident. With these issues in mind, I have never participated in any dangerous sports.
Are water sports popular in your country?
Chinese people have a very busy lifestyle with work and studying. Therefore, leisure or free time is infrequent. Popular water sports in China would include swimming, diving, dragon boat racing, and other rowing activities. On the beaches, you may also see people surfing and windsailing.
When I hear the word running, certain words come to mind. Jog, a slow run is a jog, and then sprinting, a really fast run is a sprint, or a marathon, a really long run. When you're running, I think marathons like 30, 40 kilometers or something, a really, really long run. And then they have half marathons for people who are not as fit and not as able. And then if you don't like running, you can use the idiomatic expression fan of. We can say I'm a big fan of, like I'm a big fan of snorkeling. But we can also use the negative. I'm not a big fan of running. Let's talk about running. How often do you run?
I have a busy lifestyle with working and studying, so the opportunities to go for a run after work are few. I do, however, put time aside to jog at least 3 times a week, which helps me relax and keep fit. On the weekends, I would have a longer running workout.
Where do you usually go running?
There are some different choices to go running near where I live. My local park offers a green space where joggers get together and run a predetermined course around the park. There is also a track and field facility that allows for more competitive running.
Did you like running when you were a child?
When I was in elementary school, we had many sports days during the year that would involve running as one of the activities. I loved the running sports, and although I wasn't the best runner, I was competitive and enjoyed the company and interaction with the other kids.
Do you think running is a good way to stay healthy?
I believe running is an excellent way to stay healthy and improve your fitness. Not only does it help build muscles and endurance, it is also a good cardio exercise. However, many people have difficulties when running with their knees and joints, and alternate exercises, including rowing and swimming, may be better suited for them.
Alright, so I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget that I've also got videos for part 2 and part 3, so you can subscribe to me or just look on my channel for those. I'll also put a link to current speaking questions at the end of this video. Another thing that I'd highly recommend to you is to take a mock test with a trained examiner. Now, I offer such a service. I'll put a link again in the description if you're interested in that. If you're interested in having a mock speaking test, I do charge $20 for that, but I think it's good value. And the value of the mock speaking test is that you can experience what a test is really like before you go to your real test. You can find out your band score, your level. I'll give you a band score. But more importantly, I'll tell you what you can do to increase your band score or get to the band score that you need. So this is very, very useful, and yeah, it costs $20, but I think that's a lot cheaper than failing your test. The mock test with the feedback, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes. I give you written feedback. I also give you an MP3 of the test so that you can listen back later and review the lesson. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like it so that will help this video to rank better and enable people such as yourself to see this video. Please subscribe to me if you'd like to get alerts of my upcoming videos as I produce them and as I upload them. Best of luck with your study in 2020.